Namaste. Gems from Savitri. What is the hour of the divine disclosure? When human beings come and they want to, when they go to some place, they like to do with lot of fanfare, lot of beating of drums, and that's how they project that the King of Kings has come or the King has come. But when the King of Kings comes, he likes to come incognito. You see the story of Christ being born in a manger, story of Krishna being born in a jail and then in a very modest family, Gwala in Gokul. So when the King of King comes, very often he likes to come in Sure Bindu. Nobody even knows. Though we all know that it was wee hours of the morning 4:30. So why does he do it? Because sometimes, number one, it's much better and easier to do the work veiled by the darkness. Because the moment people recognize and realize that he is the King of Kings, they flock around for everything else except what he has come to give. So he has come to give us life immortal, and we want everything that would make our mortal life rich, but mortal life. He wants to give us life divine, but we want the animal human existence. He wants to give us peace that is forever, and we say, oh, we will lose all charm and joy of life if all the time there is peace. As the mother recounts that someone had this question that in the new creation, there will be no need for food. Mother said, yes, because you can draw energy from directly. Then the person says, then what will be the use of living? So this is the state of human affairs, that when the divine comes, this is what we are ready with our own agenda. So he prefers to work a little bit incognito, and that is one reason we can understand why Sri Aurobindo chose to remain for a long time in the veil of secrecy. And to this extent that there was a time when the disciples were not even allowed to speak about Mother and Sri Aurobindo. It's only after 1956, 1960, first manifestation, anniversary of the supramental manifestation, that this started. Sri Aurobindo Society was formed and people could go and speak and to make known. But up till then, very few people knew. There were hardly disciples, some 250 or 300 disciples, here and outside. So this is a characteristic way of the King of Kings coming and coming incognito in darkness. Second is, where he has to really work is in the darkness, because that is the real problem. Problem is not just man has a problem, or there is a demon, there is an asura. That's our way of looking at it. But where does even the asura derive his strength from? Is from the densest darkness. So he starts his work from there, and his work is precisely to transform this darkness into light. Very often people ask, when will the new world come? So we have to remember that when darkness is very deep, if you put it like a story, if some rishi came and gave a talk and somebody said, but when will new world come? When will new world come? And he said, when you see that there is so much darkness that you can't even know about what's happening right inside you, next to you, all around, when you see there is chaos and confusion, then people who are listening, sir, no, we are asking about the new world. And he will say, I am telling you exactly when the new world will come. When all the suns, all that we right now trust upon, when all that is smashed to pieces, then you should know that the sun is about to rise. So if he says so, there will be groups of people who will discuss and analyze the talk. So some will say it will never happen. ऐसा होता है क्या भला? So another group will say what he meant was basically that it's when we all die, there is smashing of everything, then we will rise up into some mystic heaven of splendor. But among all these people, there will be an seemingly ignorant man, an ordinary peasant. He will say, but this is what happens every day. What did the seer say? He said what we all know, he only echoed or brought out the knowledge within us. So, what is the knowledge? That just before the sunrise, darkness is deepest and dense. So, this is what we see symbolically revealed in the story of Krishna. Now, one more question before we read the passage. Why does the divine wait for that moment? For a very simple reason, that we have a tendency, we have to be ready. We have a tendency to hold on to halfway homes of the spirit. So even if the divine comes and walks amongst us, amidst us, as long as we have clutches and supports, we will not turn to him. So the mother says that in yoga, when you come to yoga, there comes a time. In fact, she doesn't say there comes a time. She says when you come to yoga, all your supports, mental supports, emotional supports, vital supports, they are taken away from you. And you have to hang with just the slender thread of faith. And you have to say, my country, my religion, my family, it is you, the divine. So those who are losing all these supports, cheer up because the divine is very near. And if you are having all these supports, then take it that these supports are all temporary. The original one who is holding these is behind them. That's the way to take life. But we don't do that, and hence a point comes when all supports are taken away and darkness is densest, and that is the time when there is the divine disclosure. So we read this beautiful passage revealing this truth. Thus will the masked Transcendent mount his throne. So when Krishna comes, see, this passage reminds me of Krishna's Krishna avatar. Who is Krishna? Is the masked Transcendent. And he has to mount whose throne? His throne. Kansa who usurped it. It is his throne. So thus will the masked Transcendent mount his throne. When darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, because then there is a cry, and when there is a cry and a thirst, we are ready. When there is no thirst, we are not ready for the gifts of the Spirit. So, when darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, and man's corporeal mind is the only lamp. The only flickering lamp is the physical mind of man, corporeal mind, not some higher mind or greater mind. So, how does he come? As a thieves in the night shall be the covert tread. Why does he come as a thief? Because we will get too alarmed. So he comes quietly, settles down, opens your fridge, takes out all the makhan, doodh, ghee, and when we wake up, we say, what happened to everything? It's disappeared. And then he'll smile and say, but I am here. I have come to stay permanently with you. So, this is the way of the divine. As a thieves in the night shall be the covert tread of one who steps unseen into his house. This is the whole story of that Krishna Leela that, as a child, one can understand as the story of the immanent divine. So, what was he doing? He was going and, stealing clarified butter and makhan. So, why is he stealing all this? Now, they used to keep it right on top of, so that he cannot reach. But he would reach and take it. But what was he doing with all this? He was sharing it with everybody. So very often people say that, socialist ideas have come from communism. No, it has distorted the socialism of India. India's socialism is, yes, everything belongs to everybody. And everybody has an equal divine right to it. So look at that you may have your own cow and somebody doesn't have the cow. But when it is there, all of us share together. Share it with joy and not with the sense of, appropriation or as if you are the person who is giving it. So share it with that love, share it with that joy. So this is the first lesson this it teaches. Second is, butter is the symbol of the intellect. That's how when in Vedas it is said Gritashnu, the horses whose feet are dripping in butter. So if you literally translate it, it'll look very strange. Who are the horses whose feet is dripping in butter? So horses are the force, steeds. And clarified butter is the sign of a luminous intellect. So that's how the Vedic rishis offered the sacrifice of butter into Agni. Why? Because when butter is offered into the Agni, it suddenly, becomes very high. Meaning thereby, if you have the fire of aspiration burning, but if your mind is full of doubts, physical mind, and it is a discursive intellect, all the time debating, doubting, looking outward and downward, then this Agni will not rise. But the day we offer our thoughts to the divine, our understanding to the divine, and saying that my understanding is limited, widen it, make it more luminous. Then the moment, because mind is the mediating divinity, the moment you put this butter into the Agni, it flames forth. So this is the occult process. So what was Sri Krishna doing? He was saying, you guys will not put this butter into the Agni. I will take it myself. And when I take it, what will you give in return? I'll give delight. Delight is the ultimate aim, where knowledge rests in blissful silence. So he takes away all that, but he returns delight, which is what it is meant to do. So this is the occult significance of that story. So as a thieves in the night shall be the covert tread of one who steps unseen into his house. Whose house was it? It was not the house of this gopi and that gopi. It was the house of Krishna. So he was treading into his own house. A voice ill heard shall speak. The soul obey. Now you see, during that time regarding Savitri, Mother said mankind will take 300 years before people are ready to understand Savitri. That is the power of Savitri. It is so much into the future. You can't compare it with anything of the past. It's so much into the future. So he says, a voice ill heard shall speak. When the Arya was started, even now, many people, they read Sri Aurobindo and they say, no, give us an easy to-do list, step of 10 things, like Sri Aurobindo, thus spake Sri Aurobindo. Step 1, do this, do that, and at the end you have the result, transformation. It doesn't work like that, because life doesn't operate like that. Life evolves organically through everything. So, a voice ill heard shall speak, the soul obey. Even during Sri Krishna's time, if you see that there were only 5 persons who felt the divinity of Sri Krishna. Subsequently, yes, there have been many movements in his name. A power into mind's inner chamber steel, because the butter he has eaten away, but he is giving it return the Gita, the essence of light. So, a power into mind's inner chamber steel, and a charm and sweetness open life's closed doors. It is so remarkable. Charm and sweetness. So we think God means truth is sitting there. We have made a God who is like a judge sitting out there in heaven, who is ever with a watchful eye and a baton in one hand and a carrot in another. He is watching for the sinners and flogging them. This is the image we have made of God. But the God that we know, we have love for a boy who is dark and resplendent. A woman is Lord of us, naked and fierce. But wherever you see Krishna, he is charming, he is full of sweetness, he is very naughty, full of mischief, sports. He is an ever youthful God. He knows no limits. You can't tie him to virtue and vice. He will say, oh, you are tying me to virtue? I'll show you how to sin in abundance. As we read that day, sin is a trick of Krishna to disguise himself from the eyes of the virtuous. So that's how he will be. But if you try to say that, okay, I'll sin in abundance because you have said so, you say, oh, that's how you understand me. Come, I'll teach you some virtue through my own ways. He doesn't fit into any norm and standard. So what does he bring? Not an intellectual knowledge, which we are always looking, jnana. We are too serious people. That's one of the biggest problem. When Mother was asked, why is life so much pain and suffering? She said, the problem is we as human beings take life too seriously. And then she said, even God doesn't take it so seriously. That's how he can create a charming world. Now, this may be very disconcerting to people. But imagine a creative art. One is that you are making an art piece, let us say a painting or anything, and you have in mind, I will do this way, that way. Poets who write poetry, they don't write thinking, oh, I have to make it rhyme, I have to make a meter. They don't remember that, they don't think, oh, I have to have this meter, chaupai, doha. They don't write like that. They experience a delight and it takes the form of poetry. That's how mantras are born. Or when an artist makes a sketch, sometimes you don't even know what we are going to make and it comes out to be something very beautiful. So, what does he give us? This charm, this sweetness of life, of creation. And beauty conquered the resisting world. Knowledge cannot conquer the resisting world. Because for every statement there is a counter statement. But beauty, can anyone resist beauty? That's why the highest form of the Divine Mother is Tripur Sundari. She is the greatest of all beauties, beauty of beauties. So beauty conquered the resisting world. Asuras can refute knowledge. They can debate and discuss. But when beauty comes, they also rush. Because there is something so tremendous about beauty. And beauty conquered the resisting world. Of course, the true beauty is a formless beauty. The truth light capture nature by surprise. So how will he one day suddenly come? That's how he comes. He's an expert in this art. First time when people come to Pondicherry, what happens? Somebody has told you and you want to come. I have heard from some. You don't know what's going to hit you. I'm not talking of the tourist and others. So you don't know what you are going to. Okay, ashram is there. Nowhere they have written. Somebody will tell you on the gate that no time now. So you are waiting. You really don't know what's going to happen inside. You are imagining things. If you have not been told, you are imagining things. And then you enter and you suddenly start feeling something very different. It's so different. You are expecting an ashram where you enter and, have you gone to this place in Narayan's, Swami Narayan temple. It's so much like if you go to Delhi. I have seen the Delhi one. So many paraphernalia, mobiles will be kept, this will be kept, then something very grand. Then you are ushered into a movie, all 3D, 4D, God knows how many Ds, movie, and then all that, then the langar. Here there is nothing, you just enter quietly. You are even figuring out, kya hai? And you somebody, that's the samadhi. And then you go to the samadhi and you just don't want to come back. So this is called capturing nature by surprise. You didn't know what you are signing in for. And then when you discover it, you are all taken away. Stealth of God compel the heart to bliss. You want to live in darkness, you want to say, you want to criticize God, you are saying He doesn't exist, He has done these nonsensical things, you are full of doubt, despair. What is He doing? Have you ever seen when a child cries for no reason? So there are two kinds of mamas. One mama who takes it very seriously. She starts thinking, I am guilty, I have done some wrong, I have not brought up the child well. Or she starts, going to the child, trying to explain. And every time you explain, the child becomes even more furious. Till a time comes when you don't know, you are also crying and the child is also crying. Both are crying, no? But there is another approach where you go smiling to the child. And you look at the child, why are you crying? And then the child is still crying, Gandhi mummy, useless, this, that. You just do one thing, you take the child into your arms and just talk, okay, Gandhi mummy, koi baat nahi, smile at it. You know you are doing the right thing. And the child will cry and after some time go into a beautiful sleep in your heart. Tried and tested formula, bringing up children. After some time, you see, that's true. When people are debating, discussing, and you don't want to get into it, after some time, after you've listened to everything, you can take that approach. You say, ho gaya abhi, pas kare, thoda. Let's embrace each other. Don't start actually embracing. Virtual embrace. Virtual embrace. Distant, social distancing. And then, smile. Kya hai ye discuss karne ki koi cheez hai? Is it worth really wasting your mind over? So this is called stealth of God compel the heart to bliss. It takes nothing to really make the heart feel alive again. and earth grow unexpectedly divine. He has said it all. It will grow unexpectedly divine. Perhaps when you least expect. That story of, Michelangelo, where whole night he's chipping a stone and everybody says he's a mad guy. And one day they don't hear the chipping. So they wonder what's gone wrong. Is he dead? Morning they wake up and see that the place, rock where he was chipping, there's a beautiful statue there of God. And they just are flabbergasted as the sun rays fall. And they ask, how did you know it is there? How did you do it? He said, well, I saw it there. You saw a block of stone. I saw there a goddess. And that's how I was working. So that's the way the divine works. Unexpectedly divine. That last touches. When you do the Durga Puja, that Durga Devi's Pratima, till one day before, you will cannot believe that tomorrow she is going to come and turn into a goddess. And the last thing I am told they make, I don't know whether they make it or not, but they make are the eyes. And they are not supposed to see the eyes and make it. And then when next day the goddess is unveiled, then our Durga Sakshat hoy gelo. So earth grow unexpectedly divine. Till then, the work in progress. So we human beings are work in progress. But who is doing the work in progress? The Lord. So we should not worry. In matter shall be lit the Spirit's glow. What is the divinity? Even in this bodily house, there will be the glow of the Spirit. So all these creams, fair and lovely, and all these will become redundant. The market is going to crash. Why? Because there will be the Spirit's glow from within. Just imagine what that skin would be like, what that bodily frame will be like. In body and body kindle the sacred birth. The birth of the spirit. Right now the body is dead to the spirit. Deep within the soul is awake to the spirit. But soul also seems to be sleeping with the body. The body is completely, it is not aware that there is anything like spirit. It's so obscure. And we have made it further damaged by saying, no. Spirit within is somewhere high up. For the body there is the doctor. And the drugs. And the vaccines. And everything else. Except the spirit. Spirit is high up above. So this is how we have made in body and body kindle the sacred birth. Night shall awake to the anthem of the stars. So night becomes so beautiful when you are passing through even what people would call as night. Oh my God, look at so much trouble the person is going through. But you are gathering the gifts of the night. The mother says, if you are going through the night, gather the gifts of the night. What are the gifts of the night? The stars. You won't find them during day. So gather the gifts of the night. The days become a happy pilgrim march. So night you gather the gifts and then you rest, and in the morning you have a happy pilgrim march. So constant progression, which is from joy to greater joy. Our will a force of the eternal's power. Right now our will is maimed and hampered because of the obscurity and ignorance, and then whatever is willed by us is nothing else but the divine will reflected through the human will. In one place, Mother says very beautiful when she speaks about spiritual healing. She says spiritual healing is not done that way that, okay, I will heal everyone and anyone and everyone through some kind of process. She says you will do it at the command of the Spirit. And then if you have the command, you have to do nothing. You will just look at the person and simply say, but you should be healed. You should be fine. And the person will be fine. Why? Because you are carrying the Eternal's will and the Eternal's power. That's the way true spiritual healing is done. And thought the rays of a spiritual sun. So we'll wake up to intuition in our thoughts. A few shall see what none yet understand. So if you are among the few, know that God has blessed us. If you are among the few, then you are right. If everybody is saying the same thing that you are saying, question yourself. If you shall see what none yet understands, God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep. Big debates going on. Corona, what will happen after 3 months? Third wave, they've already brought in. Before the wave is coming, third, fourth waves are already in the making. We are bringing the tsunamis. We must be prepared. How many cylinders? How many? Nobody is speaking in even now of natural immunity. So we are already, and Corona is saying, okay, you are talking of third and fourth wave. No, I am going to mutate and come to you as a new being, new creature. So this is how wise men talk and sleep. And then they say, see, we have done so much in the name of science and saving mankind. For man shall not know the coming till its hour. Man doesn't want to know, basically. He loves the ignorance fathering his pain. Even when God's messengers come and give the light and the truth, man does not want to see that. He wants to be governed by his corporeal mind. Why? Because that would mean surrender. And there are people who will say, oh, you are saying what Sri Aurobindo has said. You should have your own original thought. So that's the other problem. Huh? So you have to talk to them in that language. That original thought says that creation should not stop with man. This is original thought. It doesn't need much of... and if creation stops with man, then preserving mankind is really not a worthwhile thing. Knowing what we are. Our value is only if we can climb to something higher. Otherwise, we will end up devouring the world, and a scientist came and blew out the world before God had time to shout. For man shall not know the coming till its hour, and belief shall be not till the work is done. So it's not a belief system. One day the earth will see, and at least there will be few human beings. Mother says it's enough if there are just a few human beings. 100 who can see the light and are ready for the spiritual transformation. Who are pure gold. That's what the mother puts it in her writing. That we don't want many. Just a few who can live with this faith and aspiration and are ready to be transmuted to pure gold. And they will eventually, by their effect, their influence, there will be a contagion, and in bodies and bodies kindle the sacred birth. So this is the process. So if darkness is dense, light is nearby. Namaste.